Hello everyone and welcome back to Code Escuela, and we are now again on another episode of Coding Challenge, and this time it would be to build your own sort tool. Okay, so sort tool is another uh, Unix command line tool that allows you to uh, take some file data or contents from a file and then sort them. All right, so yeah, it's very basic uh, function of the tool. So let's just try this one out first. Let's see what it does. So I just have my stuff here, or my solution open already. And let's try out the uh, sort tool itself first. So let's open a command line here, command prompt. Okay, oops, there you go. So let's see. So uh, the sort function receives a file. Okay, so let's open my WSL so that we can run straight from that or run the sort tool straight from it. Okay, hopefully this comes up now and we should be able to run our or try out the sort tool. Okay, so now we have or we are on our Linux command line via WSL, and let's just look at what's or so now we will want to sort the sort words.txt. Okay, so what we will do is sort and then we just pass in the name of the file, right? And as you can see, it outputted several lines that organizes or sorts the each of the words within the file alphabetically, okay? Or as shows what they say as lexicographically, all right? So yeah, that's the tool. And so that's what we are going to do for this challenge. And so for my solution on step one, anyway, you can also look at a video here that shows you the sort function. I think this one is from the author itself. So yeah, but prior to doing this challenge, first is you'll have to have the reference text file that will become your test file. So you can just download this file, right? Following the instruction. This is just a text file, and then you pass it through this command so that it would create a list of words, which was in turn what I've used as an example here as a demonstration, okay, of the sort function or tool. So now, so the goal of step one is to implement the essence of the sort program. So basically, this is what's it's ideally what it should accept. So now you have the actual sort uh, command itself, and then you pass in the target file, and then you can just pass in whatever or you can pass it to some other Linux commands. So in this case, you pass it to or you pipe it through the unique command, and then piped it again into the head command, which is takes just like the first 5 lines of the result. Okay, so that's how it would go. So my solution for this one is quite straightforward. I did a test-driven approach for this one since I assumed in the beginning it was just easy. And so I had this first unit test here wherein the expected output would be like this, following this expected output. And then I instantiated a sort class. So I've separated it into a sort class so that all of our logic and code is in its own place, okay, in a single place. And then just running this run command to actually do the sorting. And from there, we just take the result. First is we will try to simulate this unique function here. I mean the unique command that is being piped through here. So they will take the distinct result. So the results from this run tool or sort, and then just the distinct ones or the unique ones. And then from there, we also have, or we only take 5 items from there, and then we turn it into an array. Okay. So our sort class would receive or accept a file name or file path. Okay, so if we inspect our sort class, so it's just a basic form for now. So we have the sort class and then a single method that actually runs the sorting. So what I did with this one is just to first you read from the file, store it somewhere, and then from there, our lines, we remove some or do some cleanup of our data. So we remove all of the empty lines and then also remove some funky symbols here. All right. And then from there, we do the order by. So we're a bit cheating here. We will do, we are using the link order by function, okay, to order it in this manner by ordinal. So if it's alphabetical, then you are expecting that it will be from A to Z stuff, okay? And then just returning back the result. So if we run this test, then we're expecting that it should just pass, okay? So now we have, I think, have satisfied step one. It's quite basic. So assuming this would be a simulation of this command, okay? Next, let's jump to step two. Okay, but you can also try this one out. So I've added a sort of integration test here in this form. So a simple method that accepts commands, I mean that actually runs the command with passing in the command line arguments. So in this case, I've added also a note here that you can just pass the words that text. Okay, and if we run this, we should be able to see or get the almost same result as what we did with our from the actual sort command here that we've just performed. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So I think I have some problems with our word text file here initially, and so that we have these funky symbols like question marks, and so I think it has to something to do with the way I perform the step zero part here. Okay, but anyways, uh we should be able to uh satisfy step two. Now step one is to implement the same functionality but with the unique functionality built into the sort uh, algorithm, or I mean the sort code. Okay, so following this example, so if you pass a dash u which indicates unique, then the results would come up as only unique values. Okay, so now let's pull up the one I did for that. So let's go here. Now, you might notice that some of my commits here are quite messy already. Now, let's just go to step two, right? Now, with step two, let me just, oh, so, okay, that's it. That's just it. So, with step two, now I have another unit test added that would test for uniqueness. So, provided that we'll have to add a dash u or unique option passed in. So what I did was in the run command, you can pass in the argument. Maybe I don't know if this would be good enough for, or this would be an appropriate approach, or you can just pass it here in our constructor when you instantiate our sort class. And so looking back at our sort class, now you have this uh, way of determining if we apply unique option or not. So if we pass in an option, then we'll just do a dot distinct link method for this one. So first, if we just do the order by, and then if the dash u option is being passed, then we'll do it again as a pass through again it as a distinct method. Okay, and then just return the result as an array. All right, so let's head back to our test explorer here and run the test, and then we should be expecting that I will get unique results, or this test should pass, right? Okay, so there you go. Now we now our sort tool has the option to receive dash u option or only show unique values, right? Again, seems like simple enough. Okay, so now let's head to step 3. So with step 3, I think this is the most this is the step where I got stuck the most. Okay, so I didn't even continue moving forward to step 4 because I got stuck so long enough in step 3 that yeah, I just gave up after this one. So with this one, it suggested that you allow the user to receive or have an option to choose what sorting algorithm to use for sorting the values. So here he has suggested several options. You can use the radii sort or the bucket sort. You have the merge sort and then the quick sort. Now, for this one, I got stuck with doing it as a radii or bucket sort. Okay, so let's jump back to my commits here and let's see how messed up I got things here. Okay, so first one was I was thinking of several ways I can do this. So following what a radii sort looks like, or what I mean in the actual implementation, there are several sources. I'd be lying to you if I tell you that I didn't look at any other resources or didn't go through the internet or even asking Copilot what I could do with this one. But anyway, just a quick look at what a radii sort, or I mean what a radii sort is or a bucket sort is. It's it's a way of sorting values by having sort of buckets, or wherein you store values by each of those buckets, and then you repeat the step or you repeat the process until you complete each of the digits of the values. Okay, now that seems to be easy enough if you are dealing only with numbers, but somehow when you are dealing uh, with these letters or character, it seems that it's much harder than as expected. Okay, and so let's just jump right straight to my final solution for this one. Okay, all right. So now I just left it here. So this is I got through several attempts of trying to implement the sorting via the bucket sort. So the first one would be I just named it dummy. I don't know why. That's the simplest I do. So I've thought of if the number of values gets so high. So if you look for the character set of UTF alone, UTF-8 characters, you're expecting quite a lot of number here. So what I'm referring to here is from this reference from W3 schools. So as you can see here, UTF is quite large. So it has like out around 11,000 characters. Okay, and you may never know how large the or how wide or how varied the characters are in in a text file or in a set of contents. Okay, and so if you think of doing it as a bucket sort, then you can think of this each of these characters as its own bucket itself. Okay, and so I thought that what if the set of characters would is so large that it wouldn't be like uh, you'll create a bucket that is also as large as the number of unique characters itself. And so I thought that maybe if we can do a set of bucket ranges wherein if you do, like for example, like following this uh, uh, number range for each of the character sets, so or groupings, that where you have one bucket for 0 to 127 characters, and then 128 to 2255, and then 256 to 383. But then you won't know what is the how large would this come or become, right? So what I thought is that if we could split this, keep splitting uh, the buckets, splitting the buckets continue until we reach the point where you only have enough number of buckets to place all of your sorting, okay? But it seems that I couldn't quite get that kind of determining uh, how much of the splitting of the buckets I would do, okay? And so yeah, I've tried doing this just to try testing out if I could do splits by whatever range of numbers. And so after going through all of that, I decided that I will just go and turn each of the character value or number into its own bucket. And so we'd end up with this kind of implementation, okay? And so what happens now is that, let's check our sort here. Now we have I've separated this radii sort from the our general sorting run method. So just as to not mess with that one. But this is very incomplete because the sort doesn't accept any options if you want to specify what kind of algorithm you want to use. But maybe as an exercise, you can try it out, and yeah, maybe one way receiving a uh, sort of algorithm option, and then pass in that option, and then decide what kind of method with that specific algorithm you'll want to run. Okay, so now going back here, this is my implementation. Now what I did here is that I read all the lines here from line 36, and from there I took only all the characters that are unique, all of each of the characters from whatever file or contents that comes from. So only need each of the character, for example, from the alphabet A to Z, the numbers 0 to 9. So yeah, and then from there I determined the longest word, which would now become our sort of uh, the the determining value that we'll use to process each of the character positions, okay? And then to limit our to limit the number of buckets, or the bucket set for this one, I've also determined the shortest word, okay? So from there, once we determine that, we create our bucket with the size of only the characters that are unique for the contents of the file, okay? And from there, we go through each of the characters. For example, let's say uh, let's just go back to my example stuff here that I've tested out. So my from initial test. So what happens is that if, for example, if you have two words here, you get the unique letters only for each of those words. And then from there, you start doing the bucket sort, which means that from the rightmost character moving to the left, okay? And so now this is the way I would determine in what position you are currently sorting, okay? And so from there, once we find, so there's some weird case here wherein if the word you're comparing has lesser characters compared to the longest word, then you'd end up with kind of a weird situation where you'll run out of bounds from the position of the character that you're trying to determine the value from. And so in this case, I have this logic wherein if the character index that we are trying to get the value from is less than 0, which means that if the words are shorter than the longest word, then character would always be at 0 index, okay? So that shouldn't be a problem. And so from there, all we have to do is uh, add our uh, place our word with that matching position in the character into its own bucket. and then you go through each, pass it again, starting from this, so you go through here each of the characters, and then yeah, and then lastly, once you've positioned or added it in your buckets, then you take the values from the bucket, and then put it back in your list of words. Okay, and so after that, you reset your bucket since you're moving again to a different character position. All right, so with that, let's try out our test here. So I have here a unit test that would test out our radii sort algo. So if we run this one, we should be expecting that we get the same result. Okay, and hopefully pass this test. Okay, so now it's going through the radii sort. So the only problem with this one is that with the radii sort, it could take you some time, especially if you're dealing with a lot of characters and a big file or content. Then yeah, you might go through several seconds for this one, and I hope it doesn't take a minute for this to process. But yeah, since this is the first time that we are running this test for, since we've opened this one or shift to a different commit, so it has to rebuild and rerun or run the radii sort itself. And I hope we pass this one. So it took us 41 seconds for the radii sort to do its thing. Okay, and then we got the same result as if we are not doing a radii or the typical built-in sort that we just did. Okay, so I hope yeah, I thought of giving an illustration, but let's just quickly look at how the radii sort works. I think there's let's just search for radii sort, and there's one illustration coming up from this one. This is one of the references that I've took and yeah, built out of from. So an illustration here is this is the radii sort. So radii here means or bucket. Please forgive me. But yeah, the idea is that each of these values you sort them for each individual digit of the value. In this case, it's a number. But for our case, we are dealing with words or letters. So we treat each letter as its value in its own bucket. Okay, and so we end up with this messy implementation of the radii sort. All right. Okay. So I think that covers what I did for this challenge, and I didn't even bother doing step 4 as you have this random sort that would, I think, would be much messier and would give me uh would have to deal with so much time spent on this one. But yeah, anyways, if you have any thoughts or ideas or whatever comments that you want to add, or yeah, for this one, please let me know in the comment section, and yeah, we'll hope to talk about it. If you have some inputs for this one, some things that we could have done better for this one. And yeah, I'm hoping to do more challenges for this one. There's a lot of this one of the challenges here, but I'm thinking of doing the Redis server one instead of this calculator. I'll skip that one and do the Redis server as a next challenge. That would be up for our next episode. But anyways, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless everyone. See you soon. Bye.